r/AskReddit by Reddit. Have you ever, correctly, had a gut feeling to dislike someone who, on the surface, was a cool person that everybody else liked? What's that story? Some girl started talking to me on the bus ride home. I thought there was something off about her, but my parents, who are inherently optimists, told me to be nice and hang out with her. They even invited her over for dinner a few times. She lived about a 4-minute walk away from me, so it was hard to come up with excuses not to hang out. We eventually hung out a few times, and I found out that she was a foster kid and had gotten bounced around a lot. She was also on a lot of medication for bad joints, bipolar disease and a few other things. She was almost 18. Well, anyway, turns out she was having an affair with the father and they plotted together to kill the mom so that they could be together. They made sure to plan it during a time when the dad was out of town. The girl ends up stabbing her foster mother to death and the family's biological daughter is the one to call 911. They put the 911 tape up online, and it was the worst thing I've ever listened to. TLDR, strongly urged by my parents, previously forced to hang out with a girl on my bus. She ends up having an affair with her foster father and stabbing her foster mother to death because the dad convinced her to. Their 14-year-old biological daughter witnessed the whole thing. A few years ago, when I was still in college, I took a summer job at a movie theater. I met a lot of really cool people there, including my SO, but there was this one guy who always gave me the creeps. We'll call him Drew. He was friends with almost everyone, including my SO, and had been for years. We'd attend the same parties, and he'd do all these little things that would feel like red flags to me, but apparently not to anyone else. Fast forward about a year. I no longer work there. My SO and I have been together for maybe a year, and he has been promoted to manager. Drew has also been promoted to supervisor. It should be noted that there were a lot of teenagers employed at this theater. One day, 2 of the younger girls come into the office. If they were 18, they were only just to talk to my SO. They tell him they are sorry because they know my SO is friends with Drew, but they have to tell him something. The younger one tells him that a few weeks prior, she was sitting alone in the break room, eating her lunch. Drew walks in and says to her, "Do you touch yourself?" She doesn't answer. He says, "Because if not, you should." I think he said more, but my SO is so furious when he told me that story that he was having trouble telling it. My SO fills out the report for the poor girl and passes it on to the GM, who then informs him that Drew had 5 counts of sexual harassment on his file already. But corporate loved him, so they could never fire him. My SO never spoke to Drew again. Last I heard, he was fired, removed from his job at a brewery by security for sexual harassment. Many of our other friends are still very close with him. I don't understand it, but I'm just thrilled to have that creep out of my life. It's amazing how people choose to ignore multiple very obvious red flags. My mother's cousin is a vet out in a rural area. This dude makes bank and is a really super nice guy. He was very close with his elderly mom and dad. Sadly, his first wife lost a ton of weight and then felt that she was out of his league and left him. Few years later, he shows up to my mom's house with this Sophia Loren type 10 times out to his league. She was all sweet and sugar pie to everyone. I forgot what I did to annoy her, but it was an accident. But she broke character for just a second and let Cruella Daval show through. I was a kid, and she grabbed my arm and looked at me like she would kill me. Everyone said I was crazy and mean, and that looks aren't everything, and that she loves him. Like I was trying to sabotage his relationship. Duck me right. Flash forward 2 years. She kicked his parents out of the house they were in for 50 years, sold their home against their will, stole all their money, forced him to choose between them and her. Sadly, he chose her. She drained him, tore apart his family, and ruined the last year of his father's life. He died scared and miserable. Told his mother, "Just give me the money. You won't live long enough to use it." It broke her heart that her son just stood there. But karma paid that witch a visit to the tune of acute leukemia and she died. His mother is still alive, in her 90s, and doing pretty well. He's back in the fold. Just sucks his father didn't get to see the end, where everything went back to the way it was. Used to work with a psychopath. Dude only ate cookie cake, only watched Disney movies, only listened to music from the 30s and 40s, drove an antique muscle car, enjoyed killing small animals, and always carried a 6-inch buck knife, which I wouldn't consider weird, except we worked in hospitality. If there was ever a stereotype for serial killers, this guy ducking nailed it. Everyone else had passed him off as a sweet, sheltered young guy who didn't realize he was kind of strange. I did too until we started talking one night and he admitted to me he had serious anger issues, blackouts and the like. Gets into our group of friends at work and starts kind of obsessing over one of our female coworkers. Everyone passes it off as a crush. I knew better. She rejected him. Wasn't pretty, but he played the let's be friends card. So me and my buddy were super tight with this chick. She starts telling us he's saying things behind our backs, trying to make it look like we were talking about her, obviously trying to separate us. I'm not fooled. Couple months go by, things calm a bit. We are still being nice to the guy. Invite him to go hiking with my buddy, my little brother, and I. Dude shows up to the trail with a ducking combat machete, his buck knife, a slingshot IRC, and looking like we are about to play the most dangerous game. Both my brothers pass it off as enthusiasm for the hike. I'm wary. I pick up a strong walking stick and begin carving it into a spear as we walk. Psycho notices and looks upset, like I've inconvenienced him, and then asks if we all want to come to his secret spot. It's only 12 miles into the trail and off the path by a little bit. My little brother was fat and we only had one bottle of water between us all in a southern summer. I tell him we can't, then he starts insisting my buddy go with him, and he was almost about to until I dropped our code phrase and gesture to bail. Always have one or a few of these with your friends. He says he's coming with me, and that's when I saw the look in Psycho's eyes. Rage. He drew his machete and stepped towards my friend as he turned his back, so I stepped towards him with my spear. He saw me and shot off this smile and a laugh and said he'd go alone, then stepped off the trail into the woods and disappeared. I know he was watching us as we left because I told my buddy to take my little brother and stay at least 10 yards in front of me, and the entire time I could hear twigs snapping behind us. To wrap it up, we all survived, but it wasn't long after that when Psycho started stalking our coworker, showing up at random times and discarding dead animals on her property. She complained along with a dozen people not long after that, and he was fired. But not before he attacked her at work and had his butt beat. Don't know what happened to him after that. Don't really want to. I'd be forever on edge after that in anticipation of some kind of revenge plot. One of my brothers was dating this girl, and everyone else had met her several times before I did, since I was off at college. So the first impression I get of her is when she shows up at our house and just walks right in. Doesn't knock, doesn't let anyone know she's in there. Just walks her happy, but inside and sits on the couch. So then when I come down the hallway into the living room, the witch had this super vapid smile on her face. I just had this weird gut instinct that she was hiding something from everyone and was going to fight to the death to keep it hidden. I expressed to my mom that she gave me a weird vibe, and I got told to stop being jealous. But long story shorter, she ended up having an entire other relationship and life with another guy 3 hours away. How did your brother find out? Her other guy came to see her one day and she told my brother that he was an old coworker. So my brother said he'd take them all out to lunch, and she lost her crap, and it all unraveled. She admitted to everything, from using my brother for money, to having this whole relationship for their entire relationship. Kind of related. Not a person but a dog. Years ago I had a GF who lived at home with her sister, parents, 3 dogs and a cat. One of the dogs was a big goofy lab that loved everyone. I mean everyone 2-year-olds could climb all over him, and he loved it. Anyway, the sister had been seeing some guy for a little while, maybe a month, and she's bringing him home to meet the family for the first time. The guy hadn't even come to the door yet. The dog was in the house and went ballistic. I had never seen anything like it. He went from goofball to apex predator. Needless to say, he couldn't come in the house. They had to leave. About 2 weeks later the sister comes home. He had slapped her and she ended it. She also found out that he beat his ex-wife before her. TLDR. Labrador could smell the evil on a wife beater. Edit. I'm a human not a doge, and I'm a good boy. Thank you for watching Reddit. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more r/AskReddit videos. Share your stories in the comment section below.